Hi everyone, Richard here at Calvin Wazoo with another video, and this one is another installment in Frank Zappa, one album at a time, and it is Sleep Dirt. I wonder if this was serendipitous. So, Sleep Dirt was released in January of 1979, and here's the back cover. And what you'll notice with this cover is that there's not a lot of stuff on it. You got Frank Zappa, Sleep Dirt, and then on the back here, we've got illustration, art direction. We've got the track listings. Who published it, etc. But that's it, which is very anachronistic when compared with all the other releases in Frank's catalog, which have a great deal of detail, often not just about the musicians involved, but also often a great deal of backstory that may be included because of all the connection with the project object and conceptual continuity. So anyway, the songs on here, and there are, 7 songs. And they're from the Zoot Allures era. And also they're connected, some of them are connected with a science fiction musical that Frank never produced called Hunchentoot. Now, Hunchentoot, he put a lot of work into this. It had an 81-page script, that included 9 pages of production notes. And there were 3 primary characters in Hunchentoot. There was Drachma, and Hunchentoot himself, and Dirk. So these characters were described by Frank, I am presuming. Drachma is an evil 7.5-foot space girl who lives on a mysterious unknown planet and who, obviously, has a sinister plan to conquer the very Earth itself. I love the way Frank would sometimes, write some of these annotations to the content in his albums, becoming quite verbose and using many, many, many superfluous words. Then we have Hunchentoot, which is Drachma's miserable, hyper-negroid harmonica virtuoso love slave. Then we have Dirk, a shifty earthling con man of the future and part-time religious fanatic who leads a group of mutant alpha meditators known as the Forcelings, and he also plays a little trumpet. I was curious about that last part. Also plays a little trumpet. It's really quite ambiguous. I've never seen the script for Hunchentoot, so I don't know if he means he plays a little trumpet or, he also plays a little trumpet. Okay? I really don't know. The song that come from the Hunchentoot era are mostly those that include, Flambe, Spider of Destiny, Egyptian Strut, Time is Money. And then the ones that are connected with the Zoot Allures era are Filthy Habits, Sleep Dirt, and The Ocean is the Ultimate Solution. Now, again, this is also part of that trio of record. Well, actually, there were 4 releases that he dropped off on Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers, it created a big stink. I think how it went is Warner Brothers initially wasn't going to do anything with them, so then he tried to repackage the material because he was meeting the terms of a contract when he provided all this musical material. But he didn't provide anything else, I don't believe. And when Warner Brothers sat on it and didn't do anything with it, then he attempted to repackage it as leather and peddle it someplace else. And then Warner Brothers started releasing the material. This one here, it wasn't the title wasn't going to be Sleep Dirt. He wanted it called Hot Rats 3. But again, all this was turned in with no liner notes or credits or artwork of any type. So the cover for the three albums in this particular series, because Zappa in New York was also part of this musical package that he dropped on Warner Brothers. There was Sleep Dirt and Studio Tan, which was released before it, and then there was Orchestral Favorites. And they all have similar artwork because he didn't submit any. And then that's when Warner Brothers hired this fellow, Gary Panter, to do the artwork. And then in the process, he realized, I'm not talking with Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa is a bit controlling when it comes to the cover art of his albums. Why am I not speaking to him? And I guess as the story went, Panter, eventually learned that Zappa didn't hate the artwork. His issue was with Warner Brothers. And I gotta say that, it wasn't, just in my perspective, it wasn't all Warner Brothers' fault. Frank to me, he sort of led with the chin through this entire process. But anyway, interesting. The reference here, this little weird monster thing, what Gary Panter was depicting was the Japanese movie monster Hedorah from Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. So, that's what he did with that. And in fact, I think Frank later said that he kind of liked the art, because when he did finally get control over his catalog, he didn't redo the album covers. There was leather, but that was a whole different thing. Well, not a whole different thing. It's largely the same material being repackaged differently. Anyway, the album is instrumental, okay? And also the CD version of this that was released in 2012 is instrumental. But there were CD issues that were released in the 20th century, in the 1980s, maybe in the 1990s, that they included vocals that go with the Hunchentoot pieces. Plus, on many of the tracks, the drums were re-recorded with Chad Wackerman doing the drums for these releases instead of Chester Thompson, who was the original session drummer, for the most part anyway. So I don't have the CD from the 20th century. I don't have any CD version of this. I have the CD of Studio Tan, but I do not have one for Sleep Dirt. So anyway, we start off with the opening track, which is called Filthy Habits. This was a track that was originally meant for Zoot Allures, which, by the way, Frank intended that to be a double album, but it got released as a single album. So a lot of this material was recorded much earlier. We're talking about this being released in 1979. Some of this material was recorded in 1974, 75, 76. Some of it even earlier than that, all right? So Filthy Habits, was supposed to be part of Zoot Allures. It has, a really delicious and sinister guitar solo. The distortion is just so exquisite. It is a great opening track. Then we go into the next several pieces, which are connected with the Hunchentoot. And we begin with Flambe. Now, Flambe it initially had some vocals added to it for the 1980s CDs, and they were provided by Tana Harris. She ended up getting the role for Drachma. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why this release, doesn't rank. It's a good, solid release, in my opinion, musically and compositionally, but I don't rank it in my top 20 because the Hunchentoot pieces, while musically interesting, I get a sensation that something's missing, and that's the vocals that should be going with, because these were pieces that were written for this musical. So yeah, it's good music, it's a good score, but yeah, the story that would go with the music is missing. I don't know what Tana Harris sounds like on those CDs because as I said, I don't have one. I don't think I've ever seen one in stores. It's not something that I often see. I mean, it took me a while to find the CD copy of Studio Tan. But anyway, Napoleon Murphy Brock does sing vocals on this song, but it was from 1974 when it was performed live. And you can kind of hear the resemblance to Zoot Allures, the way it opens. I mean, you can find this on YouTube. There's a YouTube video of it. But then you hear, the vocals that go with the song, and then together it works well. And so it's kind of, you're missing that with the vinyl, and then the release of the CD release in the this century in the 2000s. Now, Tana Harris, for her role playing Drachma, she said, relayed that Frank told me to think of myself as a late, middle-aged, slightly overweight and out-of-shape lounge singer with a cigarette and a few drinks under her bulgy belt. Okay, so that's the character of Drachma. Now, the next song is Spider of Destiny, and Chester Thompson plays drum on the vinyl and the 2012 CD release. But the 20th century ones from the 80s and maybe the couple in the 90s, those CD releases are redone with Chad Wackerman overdubs for the drums. Plus, you see Tana Harris is on there, providing the vocals. It'd be interesting, like I say, to find a CD from that era so I could hear that. So in this song, Spider of Destiny, part of the Hunchentoot, scenario, Drachma is singing to Hunchentoot, urging him to eat Dirk and the Forcelings, Dirk's minions, so to speak. The song is also a reference to a spider species that was named, and I can see if I can pronounce this, Pachygnatha Zappa. All right, the spider species. That was the name given to it by two Belgian biologists because the dark gray mark on the ventral side of the female's abdomen strikingly resembles Zappa's legendary mustache. So he's got a spider named after him, the Spider of Destiny. Again, musically, the song, it's interesting. It's a good listen. It isn't anything that I want to skip over. It's fairly short, but also it just, again, there's something missing from it, and I guess that, would be the vocals. Now, the next song then is Egyptian Strut, which might have been part of Hunchentoot. Not too clear on the provenance on this because it might have been considered for the overture for the Hunchentoot production. The interesting thing about this is you got Bruce Fowler playing several different trombone parts that are overdubbed, and then some of them are sped up. So it makes it really, really quite interesting. Then you have George Duke on piano and Ruth Underwood on marimba and chimes and some percussion. So the original drums are by Chester Thompson, And Zappa is also on some additional percussion, but he doesn't play guitar at all on this song. And then bass is provided by Birdlegs Yeomans. Okay, and then again, this song is you've got the title Egyptian Strut. I don't know. I always kind of think like the song is going to be one thing, but then when I listen to it, it's kind of like the opposite. But it's still, a good song. But I would love, again, to hear it in context of the whole Hunchentoot concept, because it's unfortunate that Hunchentoot never got produced, as a musical, because based on this music and the general gist of Frank's infatuation with monster movies and things like that, and then the concept and the script to go with it, I really think this would have been a really good musical. Unlike some of the other projects that Frank kind of started, but they never went anywhere, I really think Hunchentoot would have been a really good production if it did get produced all the way through. Now, the next track is called Time is Money. And the 20th Century CDs include vocals by Tana Harris. But the interesting thing, and I can't verify this because I don't have one of the 20th Century CDs, but according to the information I found, despite the liner notes asserting that Chad Wackerman is providing this drum overdub, it still includes the original bass and drums by Birdlegs Yeoman, or Yeomans, I should say, and then Chester Thompson. So again, on vinyl, it is just an instrumental, and on the 20th Century CDs, you've got the vocals from Tana Harris. The last two songs I find much more interesting than these other songs in the middle. I mean, the opening track of, Filthy Habits, like I said, is just so good. But the next two songs, the titular song Sleep Dirt and The Ocean is the Ultimate Solution, these are really, really good songs. And Sleep Dirt is a duet with Frank and Birdlegs Yeomans playing, they're both playing acoustic guitar. And this was originally intended for that 2-record set of Zoot Allures. Now, it did get released on the Guitar World, according to Frank Zappa. And the song, it kind of famously ends when Yeomans, he says, my fingers got stuck, while they were playing. It's really, really quite an intricate song. It's very beautiful, I want to say. It's just a really good song with the two of them. And you don't get many songs where Frank is playing, acoustic guitar, as the primary guitar lead. I mean, he plays acoustic guitar on a lot of his recordings, but it's usually, like a rhythm guitar or, something that's in the background, not any of the lead solos, which he does on electric guitar. So it's a really, really nice bit there to be able to hear him playing acoustic guitar with Birdlegs Yeomans. Then the final song is The Ocean is the Ultimate Solution, which is a pun, all right? Because, the ocean, salt water. Salt water is a solution, okay? So on one hand, you've got that level of the reference to the ocean being the ultimate solution. But there's also a possible reference to Larry the Dwarf's promise of a final solution to the orchestra question in 200 Motels. So it's still kind of an interesting, pun. The ocean is the ultimate solution, and because we think of the ultimate solution in a very nefarious and macabre way, but then, the ocean is the ultimate solution. It's just, yeah, I get a chuckle out of it. It was also a song that was originally intended for Zoot Allures. And it began as this 30-minute jam session with Terry Bozzio on drums, Dave Parlato on bass, and then Zappa on a 12-string guitar. All right? So I'm going to read some comments by Terry Bozzio about this particular song. He said that Frank came up with an incredible alternative tuning for his Fender 12-string. This guitar had low string and high string discrete stereo outputs, which Frank panned left and right. It also had a Barkasberry pickup buried in the neck at the headstock, which he panned center. The tuning was so that the low 3 pairs of strings were tuned to the intervals of a major 7th, minor 7th, and the high strings to a tritone major 3rd and minor 3rd. So every note or chord he played was incredibly complex and a tonal harmonic event. Couple this with the innovative panning, and the result was this wonderful glass-shattering guitar sound that was completely unique and, to my knowledge, has never been duplicated since. It is. It's remarkable to be listening to that that acoustic guitar that's going on. But what happened is this 30-minute jam session, Frank took it back. He edited it down to whatever the release time is on this record, which, let me see here. On side, yeah, edited down to 13 minutes and 20 seconds, from the original 30 minutes. And then so he added another guitar solo, and then he brought in Patrick O'Hearn, who played string bass. And incidentally, that's how Patrick O'Hearn got hired for the next touring band. So that's the closer of the record. Again, really strong piece. I love The Ocean is the Ultimate Solution. In general, I find Sleep Dirt to be a very good album. It's among the better ones, as I said, but because it was released as an instrumental, I do kind of wish I could listen to Hunchentoot as Hunchentoot and presented, as that musical. If I find a CD that was released in the 80s that has the vocals, then that would be good. Then I could hear, Tana Harris and what she was doing, because the version of the one song, from earlier in the album, Flambe, that Napoleon Murphy Brock provided vocals for in 1974, it works, and it's an interest. The vocals are interesting. The story, going along with it is intriguing. I would love to hear the entire. So, hey, maybe I'll find one of those CDs from the 80s that have Tana Harris doing the vocals for that. So anyway, what do you think about Sleep Dirt? And where does it fall into your catalog? Do you have it? It is weird, the covers, they do kind of stick out in comparison to everything else. So, leave your comments in the Down Under. And also, I remind people that I am on Instagram at NewsDude76. That's NEWZDUDE 76. And where I have, I post content on my Insta account that is related to music, but also other things, that's not strictly just, music and records and vinyl, but there are other things that I post. I hope you enjoyed this. Leave your comments in the Down Under, and always remember to pray for the people inside your head, for they won't be there when you're dead.